Hello and welcome to TSL Discusses the Battle of the Blades finale. I'm Dave
The
Lees.
grand finale. I'm Jonathan Byron. This time Dave will visually appear with me on the skating lesson.
So I'm hoping so. I'm nervous because I have to tell you, I didn't do anything differently when we recorded the video. I don't know if the internet went out for a glitch at one point, sometimes with a connection thing, but we always do a test shot. We had the test shot of the two of us there. I was wearing a lovely green shirt, and
Yeah, you looked really nice.
all of a sudden it was poof, and it was a long day of watching skating and taking notes and then filming, and at the end
And then it was a long day of just looking at Jonathan's face, and some guy totally called me out on Twitter about he sees right through my soul because I have the TV, but I don't have the console underneath it yet, so the cord was exposed, and he's like, what's with his exposed cord? And I was like, no!
People write some interesting comments to us.
I appreciated his, but yes, you called it. You were like, every single person will let us know that it's just your face.
What I always love is that each skating fan has such perfectionism issues.
It draws a type. We're among them, yeah.
But each one thinks that they themselves are going to be the one to let us know.
2 days later. Did you know? Yeah, we did.
I also love when we clearly post a video that we just finished recording and you want to get it up timely, right? And then they'll be like, well, are there timestamps? And it'll be like, we just got this video up. The competition just ended an hour and a half ago. We filmed an hour and a half video.
Literally immediately after.
And we uploaded it. And some a-hole. They're always amazing. I love all these people. And I also got texts that I was missing. I was like, yes, and so many.
See how much you are missed, Dave.
I know.
Your face matters. It's not just your voice. I did like when someone was like, it's like Jonathan's just hearing the voice of God, tell him what skating is about. And sometimes it feels that way, Dave. So I thought it was a nice visual aid.
Thank you. Well, there's been so much going on in skating. We're going to discuss the last couple of weeks of Battle of the Blades because it took us a couple of weeks to figure out how to get it. We
watch it if you made it available. Again, I feel like we say this each time, but again, I would have bought this season if you let me.
So the early seasons, because when I was blogging on Aunt Joyce, Sandra used to, because that was the DVD era, that was easier because she used to send the DVDs to me. And I feel like YouTube was less... This is 2009, 2010, so I feel like they were a little bit less bitchy about taking things down automatically.
Right.
It wasn't in the monetize era of things as much, so it was still early. Then, there's evolutions of social media as things go on. But now the show has come back several times, and the show died twice. They went on an indefinite hiatus and came back for the second time. That's Sandra Bezic. You can't keep her down. She went from the finale of this to Spain. She's working with David Wilson. Yeah. And Ashley Wagner is going to be in the show. And I would like Sandra to give Ashley some new moves because I feel like we've seen everything she has to offer a lot of times. And I would like to see Sandra give Ashley a little sizzle.
Could you imagine if she had Ashley and Mariah and then had to let's see what happens if she ends up with a couple of new Russians on the circuit and Javi
I think
kind of work ethic she would have to infuse and the things she could do in this kind of tour.
Ashley doesn't like coaching. So
to be the coach, you mean?
Yeah, she's not so.
I could see that. Some people you can tell would be totally right for that. Some people are going to be choreographers. Some people weren't in it for the sport, were in it for them. So they'll find something else for them.
She sort of wants to be an Instagram influencer, but she doesn't have the followers of Nastia or someone like Adam Rippon, and she hasn't been able to kind of do that. And I'm sure that not being in the second Olympics really dinged her because that's when these skaters get so many followers and more attention, and she missed that, and that probably hurt her. Maybe 100,000 followers. Something she would have been a big name there. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So, and the interesting thing is when you have seen her on things she was on what's that Andy Cohen show? Is that
Watch What Happens Live?
Where she was the bartender or whatever. She gets occasional good quips in legitimately. If given the same platform as Adam, I think she could have taken advantage of it very well. Even when she was doing did both Adam and Ashley do a little clip with Milk? Is that right? The drag queen figure
Yeah,
skater?
I think, yeah.
And Adam
he
was a
did
little
one.
shy, and Ashley was coming out with zingers like left and right.
I'm fascinated with Milk because Milk is the partner, boyfriend of a dancer from ABT that I had followed forever, and then I started to realize, wait a second, they're partners. And this one, also, Ruben Blomert has a twin brother, Sander, who's also a ballet dancer in London. And I had followed Sander before I ever followed Ruben, and it was one of those events where you're watching like the early groups of the Europeans or something on the Olympic channel, and I was like, wait, like Blomert, like they look kind of alike. What? Whoa, okay. So
mind blown. Yeah,
weird connections, right?
Okay.
And then I followed this one ballet dancer from like 2016, Jonathan, and then all of a sudden I'm like, why is this other account popping? He's also a porn star on the side? What? Like, it was...
Well, you've seen some of those ballet dancers. Get on with your Van Sal.
Well, and it kind of felt like all of... I didn't notice that Instagram, 2015 was all about, like, the fitness poses. If anyone does yoga, it was all about, like, the yoga poses, right? And getting a good yoga pose. And over time, they would get shirtless. Now everyone is just showing, like, full booty...
Full amateur porn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, like the thirst went like, whew, anyone.
Now, I stick to my guns on this one. When I first got on Instagram and I was like trying to figure out who am I on Instagram, all my friends started criticizing me because I was only posting like funny photos, like precursors to memes. And everyone was like, you're not getting it. That's not what Instagram is about. You're supposed to take like a beautiful landscape shot. So I bailed. And I was like, I could have been some of those meme pages before there were meme pages.
Yes.
I had a brilliant idea. And I just didn't believe in myself, Dave. I just didn't.
See,
so
my
here we are.
personal Instagram is a little different because, you know, not all of my family is on the same political side. So we can't even do that on anything anymore. And because I often feel like my personal... Some of the biggest people that like to comment on my Facebook page are sometimes like skating fans that I don't actually know in real life. Like we're not actually connected. They don't know anything about me.
It seems weird to bring up a skating thing on a picture of your niece or nephew.
Or they'll just comment on it and be like, we don't know each other, but thank you. Like
That social media in general, eh? Yeah, like it can be so weird.
Or then my one uncle started getting like very opinionated and argumentative on one side, and he's on one side of the divide and other families on the other. Very awkward. Very lots of just
We don't need this vehicle to play this conflict out.
So anyway, I think we started this conversation with how we got the videos. We used that old FS Vids message board that, you know, it was like huge back in the day. Even in college, I used to go on there was like an old board and then the new board, and there used to be like a file sharing for skating. Does anyone remember that? It was like Rinkside or something. And I remember at Penn State, if you used more than a gigabyte in a week, you got restricted to 56K. I was on 56K for the end of a semester for like half of it because I was downloading Sasha Cohen and Michelle Kwan videos, teaching my friend Steve Cash about skating.
Justified. You were teaching, of all things.
We once did Sasha Cohen's Malagueña footwork sequence down the hallway, like the full-on Tarasova in the dorm, okay?
Impressive.
He was a gymnast. And I was like the figure skating background, and we kind of like, well, I knew a lot about gymnastics, but we used to merge things and watch.
Beautiful.
We watched the Tori Spelling gay movie, all of it. You know, we really did the most. So
all the things, okay.
But now that board was so helpful, especially now that everything is blocked and
even from when you put it up on a link for us to watch, even while I was watching, some of them were getting taken down, and I thought, will you get off it? You know what I mean? Like,
oh, it's obnoxious. It is obnoxious.
Or provide an alternative.
The ISU thing is also obnoxious because of NBC is trying to hold on to what they got, and apparently they pay for a lot of the sport, so it's troubling. The financing of skating is troubling the way it works because it really is hurting fans.
The sport.
Yeah, and it's hurting the sport's growth. Even though it's on YouTube, there's still the USFS trying to clang on to the money that they're getting, and
and spending their money in turn. We have not even talked about those like faux game shows they were doing where like Tara Kane has to ask, or Ashley Kane has to ask like Tara what she think three something. I don't know.
They always imitate things, but it's bad. They don't understand.
Tens of views. It involves everyone's time, money to do it, to have come up with it, and it's like always find. I don't know how Ramsey Baker has his job. Most people don't. He's the marketing director for USFS. It's dreadful.
They also do things where they spent like a lot of money to do a Camden feature, but it didn't show Camden working on any jumps. It was like generic skater quotes about skaters train all day for one moment. Like, yes, but you could have said that any skater, or there was no reason to watch. Right. And I think they often get afraid of like showing too much. They overthink it, right? If you want to...
they try to dumb it down, but then it's appealing to no one.
Yeah.
Go for the superfan. Just own it. Entertain your super fans, and your super fans will watch all of those videos.
So I always find like what is good on Instagram is someone doing something amazingly well. Because whether you're a dancer, whether there's something about a quality element. If someone does the fouettes at the end of Swan Lake and it's beautiful and you put that as a 1 minute Instagram video, someone from figure skating that also likes dance may watch it and then tag someone, and then someone from gymnastics may also like you, and then
look at this cool thing,
and then you're just tagging people that like the arts or people that, and that's how you really tend to do things well. And I think that's some of the videos that do better. So but yeah, they appeal to no one. But let us start, because I brought some friends with me because not everyone has been to all of our sessions. So I just have the girls. I have the girls.
Dave's Angels. Okay.
There's this one girl who wants to buy the Nicole Bobek Barbie, and it felt like very invasive. I was like, I just got the Nicole Bobek Barbie. I mean, I guess
you know what?
Can have
Name a price, Dave. Everybody's got a price.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really need the Nicole Bobek Barbie. I mean, any of those jokes you can't really make any day, and
right, exactly.
Bobek, right, and her doing Dr. Zhivago, it sort of looks like her. But anyway, someone wrote me this message. Then I think she wrote me a message drunk. I don't know. It was a lot. I didn't even know how to respond.
Maybe it was Nicole. No, I'm
not
just
Nicole.
Okay.
Anyway, let's start out with Meagan Duhamel, because she has had quite the week on. She had a baby, Bruno and Megan, right at the start of Skate Canada. They had a daughter, Zoe. Zoe has been in the NICU, but that hasn't kept Megan from tweeting about skating and GOE. God bless her. Okay? If I had a child that was in the NICU, and this is real life, I would not care about the Grand Prix. I wouldn't. Okay, I would.
Maybe it's saving her. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe that's helping keep balance or something.
I think that is balance for Megan. Going on.
She strikes me the most like multitasking individual I've ever met.
Well, yeah, I have a picture of her somewhere. I don't know if it's still on my phone, but she was foam rolling, talking on the phone, directing what was going on in the rink, and was able to like watch the other skaters. So she was getting ready in the morning, giving Bruno reports. I think this is unreal. It was just full on.
But what's interesting is, as a result, and now tell me if I'm jumping the gun, I thought her judging on the show was spectacular.
It was very good. Her critiques were much more substantive than Tessa.
That's what it is, and exactly what we're talking about, even with like the USFS videos. Mm-hmm. Everyone is so afraid to.
Tessa's afraid to give an opinion, because when you give an opinion, not everyone likes you anymore. And
right.
So Scott already has that fiance. They're going through a lot. They really have to. They cannot alienate people over Battle of the Blades critiques, Jonathan. They have to love everyone and be like Meryl Davis.
Broad strokes. Yeah. The interesting thing, though, is compared to the judges on either side of her, Meagan was still, Kurt's like trying really hard to cultivate some sort of persona. Yeah.
Kurt is meant to be a host, not a judge.
The persona.
He's great at as a host, by the way. He hosted the PSA. He came out in his old costumes. He was doing this shtick. And that made Kurt fun. But when Kurt is critiquing,
It's a little bit dark. There's that angry vibe that comes across, and he's not really saying anything of substance.
He's not
He's
also
still
he's not saying
he's still
anything
totally
mean
broad.
either. It's not
Was
the
it?
right fit. There's something
Yeah.
about this season that hasn't quite worked for me, and I think some of it is Kurt being the host and not the judge. The vibe is just off for me.
Yeah.
I think the rotating judges is also really hard because the judges never get a chemistry. I think the other guy who's the hockey judge is fine. They used to have a different hockey judge who had a
I mean,
similar
yeah.
vibe.
Again, knowing they had that weird situation on their hands.
The hockey guy is usually very enthusiastic, very
But
you know,
again, totally broad.
broad. Yes.
Yeah, and trying to get in a soundbite. I understand there's always got to be that one person. Like, the thing is, Kurt was reducing his knowledge to that also. So when Megan actually comes on and she says something like, I saw when you did this lift and you actually jumped in both different directions, like that's incredible, or this lift is so difficult because, and then the audience isn't stupid. The audience is listening to what she says and she goes, oh, she says that's a real lift where Amanda got up on the shoulder and did the spiral or whatever. Mm-hmm. And she was explaining why it's difficult and how that happens, and it draws our eyes to certain things. And that's exactly what someone in that position should be doing, in my opinion.
I think it's obviously Tessa and Scott won the gold, so they're a little bit above this show on one hand of being like the Dancing with the Stars contestants, and on the other hand, they would have been great if they could have been with partners. That would have been ideal, right? Smash hit, right? But they had their own tour. It doesn't always work out that way.
And Tessa, one of the most beautiful women of all time, and they put her in like some like green taffeta, like I don't know what that was.
It was purple.
Oh yeah, it wasn't seafoam green, but it could have been. Like it was just this whole monstrosity.
It was awful.
It was matronly, and she's so gorgeous. It just was a total
Sometimes
miss.
she overthinks it too. You could tell that she was, but then she was dressed down for the finale, and I thought the finale is when isn't that when Carrie Ann Alba gets a little more dressed up and she comes out?
How did you feel about this format? Because this was the format where
Didn't like it at all.
Episode 5, 6, and then we're announcing on the finale instead of skating.
So I think these shows have gotten okay. So these shows come from a format where they would do like 2 hours on the first night, and then sometimes the episode would get shorter because the number of contestants go, or they would do 2 dances. Either they like put fluff in there and keep it going, like a Dancing with the Stars, and then they would do the results the next night. Then after about 10 years, that became too much, and then they tried to whittle it down. And it's always hard. Do you have the judging from like in real time? Is it fake? Are we really counting the votes? And it seemed like they would have you vote for the week, but the results would really be kind of from the week before, and it wouldn't be as much in real time with this, because the Canadians, they're probably so earnest, they're probably really counting. It seemed like, and it seems like that's kind of why they all got behind Weaver's and her partners, because people loved the story, they were into the whole vibe. It felt to me like they got the good edit. Not that everyone got a bad edit on here. It's not like on Dancing with the Stars where they've deliberately, you can tell, sometimes shady given people bad edits. Like they kept showing this clip of Nastia Liukin getting upset in training, which I'm sure almost every couple has done at some point, but they hated her so much because she wasn't so friendly behind the scenes that they kept showing it over and over and over again, and America said, she's a bitch. And they got rid of her because of it.
Yeah.
And this show, it seems like more like people get behind something. It seems like the judges got on. I also felt like because there was the mix of pairs and dance in this show.
Well, I want to talk about that because Scott really led the way in his commentary when he was talking about how difficult it is to judge pairs. Yeah, and I felt like he was paving the way to be like, hey, Canada, it's okay to be more impressed by what Katya just did, but still vote for Weaver because it's ice dance, so it's supposed to be a bit more subtle.
Yeah, I mean, it's all hard. And what Weaver did with, doing the headbanger, also extremely impressive. It's a weird show because this season, it seems a little bit strange because in the past, in the first few seasons, they were all doing pairs, right? And it was all female pros with male hockey players. Then the third season, I think David Pelletier and they brought in the female hockey player as kind of the twist, and she wound up winning as kind of that twist. But right, I forget what. Oh, the fourth season, Amanda Vora won. And then the fifth, and they had like more of the mainstays, like the Jamie Saleh and the Marie France and the Shaylin Bourne, like people packaged for TV with a lot of TV experience, show skater kind of stars on ice, IMG'd over kind of personality. These skaters, they're more IJS, so they don't have that same performance quality. I mean, Tessa and Scott do, but Weaver and Poje not as much. Duhamel, Radford certainly not. You know, it's from a different era. Then you have pair skaters with female hockey players who aren't going to get the same kind of skating skills, pairs and dance, and it became kind of a free-for-all, but they tried to do a lot more tricks, and yet Weaver went through the theatricality, which I think worked for her, the fact that they did that whole Charlie Chaplin thing with the bench.
This show could not have been a better vehicle for her right now. We've known from like several of her post-free dance moments on the Grand Prix that she is an actress through and through. And this allowed her to really indulge those things.
I think she belongs in a pageant. I've always felt that way.
I'd vote for her. I mean, come on. I think what was also nice about that is she was still very aware of him. She wanted to make sure he was okay.
She's perfect for this kind of a show.
Couldn't have been better. I agree.
I don't know how Tessa would have been, because if they don't show them skating maybe with the partners as much as they did in the. I don't know. Maybe they do. Yeah, it depends on the season and what's going on and who they're all working with. We don't get all of that background information, but. One year they had Marina Zueva yelling at Valerie Bure, and that was entertaining. And also
they showed much less of the training in general, and that would be something I could have seen more of. They were only showing the training when people were injured, and they really did get injured. Oh my God! When Katja's partner was like just dragging his arm, and it completely. You remember how insane it is that all these guys and girls are doing this quickly, and the kinds of moves that they are doing, not to give into like the cheesy part of the show, but it kind of is remarkable that people are doing throw double jumps and twists and headbangers and overhead, level 5, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is insane to think that, albeit they have a skating background, like some of these guys with those skating skills, I would be very afraid as one of the professional women.
So it seems like it's become a little bit more the lift trick thing, just in the nature of how the show has evolved. I felt before in the early seasons of the show that it was more about the choreography and the dance. I seem to remember the numbers more of Shaylin really working with her partner, but she's also a choreographer and has that knowledge of teaching and working with teams and either coaching ice dance and teaching choreography and things like that. So I think that's a little bit of a different thing as well in the show, that these are skaters who are fresh off of competing, and different generations too. Like Katya's older than we, so it's a little bit of a mixed bag, right? Of people that they could, obviously they probably would have loved to have had Meagan and perhaps Aliona, who were both pregnant. Like there were so many different variables for this season, and they didn't have a regular set. They traveled around from place to place, so there's so many different. But
I have to say, it's pretty interesting. Like the pairs, the formal, more pairsy elements, I think were probably very good for the audience, very good for ratings. You can't deny the wow factor of seeing someone flying through the air that way. However, from like a skating nerd fandom standpoint, it was fun to see the ice dancers working with their people. And you're like, right, that's why you send every single skaters with icky skating skills to someone in ice dance, because the kinds of things they were doing weren't showy. But you could tell like they were really beginning to learn more about edges and were doing things that were arguably more difficult but subtle. So it was clear that if you actually wanted to learn the craft, go to an ice dancer.
Yeah. It would be interesting. A lot of them are choreographers for a reason.
Yeah.
Interesting to me, the kinds of men that they picked or who lasted were kind of older, barrel-chested guys. In the past, some of the other partners were not as much, or they seemed maybe younger or had more physique that were suited to skating. At one point, someone said to Katya's partner that, "Oh, you have the best body for skating," and he really does. He just has
because it was the leanest.
He has no show kind of personality, no charisma.
But you know what? You know who I thought got it the most right, and I had written it down in my own way, but Meagan called him gentle. And then quickly was like, shit, was that emasculating to have called him gentle? But and she was kind of like, backstepping. But I wondered what word...
someone got upset. It must have been a hockey person who found this show. They were very upset that I didn't know all the hockey players' names. Honey, we're a skating show. Like, we are... Bruno Gervais.
They're coming okay. Yeah, I knew the Gervais part, and I thought it was Bruno, but then I was like, are you thinking of Messo? But the thing was, he took such care with her. My favorite program...
She had no sexual heat with him. Like, it was...
I don't know. I thought they had some really beautiful, tender moments in the Ain't No Sunshine. That was my favorite program of the entire season.
Have you ever seen Katya skate on the show in Russia? When she was with Boreov, the actor. I mean, the tabloids were saying that they were having an affair. The heat was that much.
Okay.
It was so much that I think Katya didn't want to return to the show because it was too invasive.
Well, when you're a mother and you're doing all that stuff and you got all that
Jonathan,
kind of
heat.
Yeah.
Performance. I have to say, I think Katya, most versatile skater of all time. All the different, she can do any mood, okay?
She was like, put me up in any position, in any stability status, and I'm just going to make it work. It was incredible.
Yeah. Her partner, I just don't think connected with the audience that much. He didn't have, did he have a sob story? I don't even know.
Not particularly, but he reminded me actually of what I think.
I don't know what the Gervais-Talbot association was, but... They didn't give Katya, like, the Heart and Stroke Foundation. I mean, we really could have revisited, like, Placid and Sergei. I mean, if they wanted Katya to win this, they could have given her the thing. I mean, Weaver's partner did get a great fluff piece about and opened up about his, being assaulted. Sexual abuse. And
totally.
And when a man is sexually abused and talks about it, it just affects people.
And a hockey star, no less. I mean, I think that for that, we unfortunately, in the world of skating, gymnastics, and the Met even, you hear about these things, and perhaps in those sports, it's less discussed. So, I mean, and they probably had played the Katya story. I mean, it felt like a rerun in a way, isn't it?
It's been a while for skating. We have to remind people who they are. They're not on TV that much anymore.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, who was calling in voting or whatever you did? Were they figure skating fans? Were they hockey fans? Are they just
I think a mix. Grandmothers, everyone.
Yeah. It seemed catered to grandmothers is the overall feel of the show that I was particularly getting. But, yeah.
Everyone. I think it's family fun. It was on a Thursday night,
though.
Oh,
I wrote, he cares. That's what I wrote. Bruno was, like, so careful of Katya.
He's was like a hug.
Yeah, I felt that. Like, and those were his finest moments because that was the only time there was a real emotion happening. And I felt as if the subtext was like, are you okay? And then it engaged for a moment. And then when he went back to, like, skating his choreography, it's what I fear I might do on a show like that. Not that I'm in danger of doing a show like that, but the idea of, like, concentrating versus selling. That's that perfectionism thing. Is so many of them, you can tell, just wanted to get it right.
It just seemed a little bit like a cluster. Like, what was the theme from week to week? It didn't seem as clear or as defined as in the past. And I think some of that is because there was the mix of pairs and dance. And I think they just went with it. It was just what it was. But I think that my Katya did her job on this show. Yeah, she did a good job. She made it to the finale. Hopefully she got a nice check. And yeah, I mean, they're doing it all for charity. All for charity.
Oh, all for charity. Please hold. We now have to plug Frozen 2 with this. Like, they literally skated the preview. And then, like, every other thing is a promo. They're like, look who's in the audience. Someone from CBC's show on Thursday nights at 8. And you're like, oh my gosh. So let's get off it. It's great. It's great. It's more money than those charities had received before. I adore that, but let's not pretend we're
It's like when Joan Rivers said, charity is a wonderful thing, but you took money with blood on it. I mean, The Celebrity Apprentice was also for charity. Let's
Yes. Let's never forget that. So it's all perspective.
Okay.
And you know what it
God's
did?
love we deliver, okay?
Everyone thinks I hate Canada, which is not true. And obviously, mainly Canadians are probably watching.
I love Canadians. You know,
Certain
they amuse me
culture.
to no end. I have a lot of good friends who are Canadian.
I think Canada's great. Actually, two of my best friends are absolutely Canadian.
Do you tease them about it?
But no, because they don't inherently have some of the traits we identify with. It's Canadian. One of the things that's considered very American is an overdrive in ambition. And so, yeah, you don't say. Now, we see this in other cultures also, but I think in general, a place like Canada finds that kind of approach to things a little aggressive. So it was interesting.
You have to hide it. You have to be like Tessa Virtue and go to America to be ambitious.
You have to pretend you only have ambition to win this show because of a charity. You wouldn't want to win it because you want to be the best at something or tackle a new thing or win because it feels good. It needed to combat that, to be like, whoa, they don't actually have ambition. It's just to help others. It was, I don't know.
Some of the comments on here were about that. Or we criticized the skating. We're like, well, Sheldon really enjoys skating and he has a great story. And we're like, yeah, and this is a skating show and he's a big barrel of man on the ice who...
Yeah.
What I found really awkward in the technique, in the critiques, was that clearly they were behind Sheldon and Kaitlyn Weaver, which is fine.
You always make excuses for the ones you like, and you're going to be tougher on the ones you just inherently don't. And their story is...
when he did those single jumps, impressive, yes. Flopping forwards, off balance, losing his balance in almost every number, and they just didn't care. The judges would be like, you know, you got a little off there, but it was just so wonderful to watch you do that. They decided to love this guy. I mean, it was not
the
about
Elton
the
John
skating.
program. Come on, the Elton John program was a little tough because we've talked about this before with the sign language choreography. You know what I mean? It's like you don't have to pantomime every word. So when they were surviving, and when what does he say about standing?
I'm still standing.
I'm still standing, and then they like stand up, and I'm like, yeah.
Very Kaitlyn Weaver.
Get it? They're standing on stand. Like, some of those were tough.
I think they had your favorite coach. I think that Weaver worked with Julie.
Oh, and I didn't even know that before. I was like, why did I hate that choreography so much?
Because Renee Roca had two teams.
Renee, I love, yeah.
And, I was teasing Jim Peterson. I messaged him, I'm like, Jim, Amanda Avora would have won if you coached her. He's like, I know.
Yeah, he probably had his ass chapped. He wasn't asked to do it.
Listen, he has nothing else to do right now. He should have done it, okay? Like that. But also, Amanda Avora was in week 6 and her fiance was on his bachelor party. It was like, come on. She made it all the way through. You get your ass to the show in Mexico.
Yeah, come on. Take the bachelor party to wherever
some whores. Like, what are you doing? Right? And what was did they say that he was in I missed it and it wasn't important enough to go back, but were they saying that her partner was also getting stitches and her fiance? Is everyone in her life?
Yeah, I kind of heard something vaguely. Some of those like off the cuff, like personal comments happened so quickly, seemingly off script, so they weren't delivered quite clearly. And that was actually much more interesting, those kinds of tidbits.
I mean, Ron McLean is an interesting guy.
I think he's being dictated a lot of that cheese.
Some of these, maybe in his earpiece, because there are people that were writing all of their... See, people sent us emails about their things about the show. They were all really obvious observations, but appreciated. The enthusiasm was there, but someone said that he doesn't have a teleprompter. That's just his Canadian heart right there.
Right.
I think we needed Rod Black and Tracy.
He memorized all of those like weird odd facts about Justin Bieber's wedding.
Maybe he
come on now. Yeah, like come on. He's got an earpiece.
I don't know. My friend Denise won Jeopardy, so there are some very interesting people that have interesting memories. Okay. All right.
I don't think he won Jeopardy, is what I'm saying. One of the comments I love the most from Meagan was after Andrew did that
The lift.
overhead lift. And she goes, we tried that and he couldn't lift me up over my head and you're taller than me.
That.
I was like, okay.
So a lot of the
sure.
skaters who watch the show and enjoy it had comments about how the heck those two made the final because Spooner was not a very good skater. But she had enthusiasm and she was likable.
She had enthusiasm. And I think if you were to really take that last clip and watch the first clip, you would be like, oh, well, she's better. It's all relative. And so if it was truly a barometer of improved.
Have you ever seen that gymnast Jade Carey? Or, well, this girl has personality, but Jade has like no grace. No, but she's just balls to the wall, going out there and doing it.
Gutsy. Okay.
Gutsy. Spooner's like that, only she has like a big smile on her face. She was
a tall smile.
A tall bull in a china shop. But when she lifted him, and they did the Anisina and Pesara, Romeo and Juliet type move, dying.
But that was right.
Was waiting for her, and the judges like didn't even really react to that. They were like, Tessa was like, interesting skating. Yes.
Neat.
Yeah, I think Meagan would have gotten behind that more if she appreciated.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying. You needed a judge like Meagan to say, I saw when you did, and I appreciated it because, and now the audience knows a little bit more. What is wrong? Why can't... Why do we have to dumb down all the comments for the audience?
Maybe they can get Tessa the next year. I don't know if they have to pay all the same pros, the same... Who knows with the budget? It seems like...
Well, and like you said, it's strange that they were appeared as a team. I mean, I understand it at some point, and they were plugging their own show plenty. But they also were saying things like, well, we think, or we're impressed with. And I was like, did you just have a discussion about it? You guys can be two different people. Like, I don't know, inherent psychological things were happening.
Maybe they're on the same cycle. They're just in touch with each other. That's why they're Tessa and Scott. Jonathan.
Yeah, they're so in sync, not only in their twizzles, but in their thoughts, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't you know? Haven't you thanked Canada enough, Jonathan? Okay.
Have you rocked the rink, Dave?
I have not rocked the rink yet. I'm waiting for the broadcast. I don't want it to be spoiled. I know that there's a finale to fix you. And goddamn, there needs to be some good of those fluff pieces. Because the Thank You Canada fluff piece was so...
They were epic. Yeah.
Epic. And the fact that we have our awkward Jeremy Abbott doing rock music. We don't know what this can bring, but God love it. I hope there are
Pause. We saw photos of him doing that, like, Ice Dancey Pairs romantic duet
with Patrick Chan.
And I was like, what's happening now? What's going on? So we're going to have to see exactly. He's channeling Yuta Miller. Mm-hmm. You better get that same-sex pairs award because, right? Wasn't that Yuta or was that?
Yuta.
It was Yuta. Yeah.
During the war.
They're bringing it back.
Yes.
Yeah, of all things. So
it wasn't just a league of their own. Yuta was doing the pairs with the men, doing the man's part.
Where's her movie? Rosie.
There should be one. There should frickin' be a Yuta Mueller. Listen,
Rosie O'Donnell could play Annette Putch.
Michael Shanley still talks about the fact that her fat daughter couldn't have the cake, but that
Rosie would have to be Gabby Seifert.
Jan Hoffman could have all the cake he wanted, but not that fat daughter. Then she stole that Annette Putch from her. Yes,
that's right.
That was the greatest film. That was the greatest film.
And that was just what we were getting in that snippet. I think there's a whole series there.
Are you kidding? Gabby Seifert? Yes. Oh my God, with the German, that language, okay? Oh, yeah. Germans are interesting people.
And Ekaterina Witt, she kind of has the most, I don't know, there's a the way she speaks German is beautiful, I think.
Ekaterina has that devilish vibe to her. You know...
we love her.
She was driving that BMW while everyone else was poor. And
she's like spitting at her car. Yeah, and she's like, it's not my fault. I did my job. The government rewarded me. Do your job. I don't know. It was...
As Ingo was spying on her. Oh, it's great. The whole thing.
Right?
Oh, it is so great. Anyway, here was Christy. She's in her Louis Armstrong dress. Remember when she won the World Pro doing this number? You probably don't, but...
I don't.
She's wearing 2 different skates, like Surya Bonali here, but it's...
Except she uses the blades on hers.
But this dress keeps going up on Christy. She's a little bit of a hooch. I didn't...
Louis Armstrong will do that to
You know
people.
what? That's how
Very
Christy
romantic.
kept... Didn't Christy marry a hockey player that she met in 1992? She kept him
How
around for
are they
8
not
years.
on your show, Sandra? It should be Christy and the husband.
Christy can do pairs. Oh my God, they could get Rudy out and they could do a reunion.
Come on, they've got to.
God. Rudy is the best on Instagram because I posted this one skater who's a show skater made those things about like everything that's wrong with Zagitova's spiral, and Rudy just replies, "Ew." Right to the whole thing.
Well, Rudy knew how to extend that leg.
Rudy really did. He really got it. Okay. Our other friends are here. Ekaterina, yes. Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, she's got the real eyebrows going on. That dark look about Ekaterina.
You know what? It's almost a Tuktamisheva outfit, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah. It just
Tuktamisheva needs to go back to the muumuu before she retires. It was the power. It was all about the muumuu.
Didn't you know? Yeah, exactly. It's like Samson and his hair.
But what's funny is that anytime someone says that they like Tuktamisheva, I'll be like, well, what do you like about her? And it's always like an ironic, well, her cab energy. Like, her real super fan, like, you just can't. Like, you're like, but...
Again, like the show, like with Weaver winning, like sometimes you just inherently are rooting for someone, even though it's like a guilty pleasure, or you know that someone may be more artistic or more technically inclined, and you're like, nah, I don't care, I'm kind of rooting for them.
So did you know that Meagan is getting outpouring of Twitter hate because she said that...
That poor girl.
Because she posted about the judging, and that she said that, well, judging is subjective, which it is.
Of course.
They tried to come for me last year about this, too. So did you know that some of these callers... And I've been the receiving end of this, so it's... I mean, it seems funny, but it's, like, not, but... So, with the whole Mariah and Ensu, obviously there were death threats, but some of the callers have been getting nasty messages, too, and someone, whoever called Zagitova, or one of the I don't know if it was the caller or one of the judges, got, like, nasty... Yeah, like online stuff.
In what platform? They find them on Twitter or something? Or
Yeah,
they find
they'll
them...
find... Are you kidding? They will find you. They will find you.
And these are volunteers.
Yeah,
right? Like those people aren't paid. They're volunteering to go and do all this work because they love this sport.
It happened at the Autumn Classic, too, I think.
Yes.
So if you do not give Hanyu the +5s and the hit... or Zagitova, anyone that's becoming of that level with that engaged of a fan base, and it's not everyone, but there will always be certain people who...
Psychopaths.
But I think it's because Twitter can encourage a gang mentality. It was funny. It was like, you know when Doug Haw said the thing on our show, right? There were people who were commenting and being like, we hate them, that didn't even...
that clearly didn't watch the episode or the clip in question.
Like, Ashley Kane hadn't seen it, but she felt like she talked about being culture.
Liked it, or shares it, retweets it. And I was like, if you were thinking about this clearly, is that how you would do this?
Yeah.
Like, share it over and over again? Like, you're just giving it more publicity, more platform. Like, I don't know, it's very strange.
So the whole thing, there was that. But there's been a couple, like... It's funny, too, is that people think that we don't have memories. So there was one former pair skater during the Coughlin situation. Someone was, like, writing me, like, really nasty messages. Not the worst, by any means. But I was like, wait a second. You were a pair skater who did porn. Like, what? What are you doing, right? Like, writing messages.
Well, what are you doing in general? Whatever. I feel like I've talked about that subject to death. Oh, God, I didn't mean that. I feel like I've talked about it over and over. Like, I have no new thoughts on it. But
we have tons of thoughts that we will never talk about until the appropriate time. But but then they will turn around and then someone will say something great and they'll be like, oh yes, we love them. And you're like, wait a second. The last time we spoke, you were saying this.
Is that Rudy Giuliani people's on the phone? But it's like, we have the receipts. We have the receipts.
We have the receipt. Like,
yeah.
See, that's because I try not to. I have a thing about being fake. Like, I can't do it.
Just own it. Just own it.
Yes, it's all good.
Very...
It's just the gang mentality of social media. So they were attacking Meagan Duhamel because of she was saying that Nathan could have gotten a +3 or +4 depending on the judge because they wanted it to be a -3 or -4, and they wanted it to be a -5. But she was trying to explain about how the GOE works and how the positives and the negatives and the whole.
She's facts. She's information. She's knowledge.
She competed under it too, right? And
the other people are only coming from an emotional standpoint from being a super fan.
Well, the super fans don't quite get it too, and I find that the personality type that's come in, especially as the cultures have shifted with different countries doing well. A season or two ago, someone wanted me to share this thing where they counted the number of different turns that people did, and they felt like that meant that that's who should get the highest scores for transitions. And you thought, well, it's also about the quality of those turns and how well they did, because not every rocker and counter is created
and the
equally.
Speed in them and the coverage of them and the blade angle in them.
Yeah, but they thought that now you could count them all, and that would. So they really do. They want to like make a science, experiment or a math formula for it, and it's like, well, no, there's a different element to this sport.
Yeah.
And then I listened to that interview with Sasha Cohen, and she was talking about missing the artistry, and I was like, I agree with you, Sasha, completely, about how this. And then I watched Sasha Cohen for about an hour last night before bed.
That happens, yeah.
It was better than anything we watched in the Grand Prix all weekend. Can I just tell
you?
Dear God, I could watch her do that Romeo and Juliet
fall
every time. I think her Olympic performance.
Are you that fan? I'm the fan that's like so cheeseball that sometimes when I watch those kinds of performances, you hope this is the one where she just lands it.
Actually, I
do that with my Tanya.
Her Olympic performance is my favorite, the one where she falls, because I find that she engaged the most emotionally after it, and I feel like you're there with her.
Yeah.
I know all the moves.
I'm like, what if she just went in and landed that quad south from that warm up just in that moment? What would have happened? Like,
she would have missed the next jump, Jonathan.
Yeah, I know. We know what would have happened.
It's okay, all right, but how? Okay, so Spooner and Poje. How are we feeling about the performances here?
Again, the total performance for me was Katja's "Ain't No Sunshine." The Elton John was a little on the nose to me, but now that you've said who maybe worked with them, I understand what was going on now. But in general, he was trying, from my perspective, the most difficulty subtly nuanced kind of little edges, little steps, slight things. And so, yes, his margin of error was greater, but I think he was trying more. Where, like Amanda's partner, who did also technically improve. I mean, but he was so awkward on the ice and just kept lifting. But to see him kind of do these subtle edge changes, I felt like he learned the most about actual skating, even if he didn't execute it properly in the moment.
Yeah, I think, and just talking about the themes from week to week, so the 1 week where Weaver did the Modern Times, I think was really genius. So that was supposed to be stage and screen week, right? And seeing these shows, as we've seen in different formats, usually you pick a movie that most people have seen, and if they don't see it, they at least get the reference. Alvin and the Chipmunks, the road trip.
I didn't understand what that had to do with
what that had to do with the Juicy Wiggle. Like, that didn't make any sense. And Riverdale, not everyone watches that. Dirty Dancing, yes. Mask of Zorro, yes. Like, those are things that people understand. And it didn't seem like it reflected in the judging. Honestly, the judging I thought was a mess. This whole thing between Kurt and the hockey judge.
And it was so on a fly and just kind of and then the cop out.
And Megan had great comments, but then she didn't actually differentiate in her judging between, because she also went Canadian during the skate off and just tied them on purpose.
Right.
Which she admitted to, because she didn't want to vote anyone off. So that I thought was a little of a negative this season. It just kind of felt
safe. Yeah.
We needed Sandra there, leading the show,
It's
telling
true.
us what good skating is, keeping Kurt in line, being
And
that
like
dominant alpha.
they had Don Jackson in the audience.
Yeah.
And I was like, somebody give that man another medal. I mean, they did a throw double Lutz that night. I was like, the man landed the damn triple one for the first time. Like, let's talk about that a little for a second or something. Like, do a whole Canadian thing.
And Voloshinar and Trankov, they mentioned that they were in.
Didn't even show him, though, because we're too busy showing people from other shows on CBC or something. So,
And who were they there for? They were there for Katya. Okay.
Right? Don't you
And
think?
what was the thing where she thought they were going to ask her a question or something on the one?
Yeah, the way he worded it, he said, okay, so we're going to kick it over to you, Kurt. And then she grabbed the microphone and she said, wait, am I supposed to answer a question? And then he was shoving the microphone in their mouth while the judges spoke. So I think she was like, did I miss the question you asked? Am I supposed to talk on this right now?
Am I supposed to talk?
Yeah, always. Actually, no, just skate. Just skate always and be beautiful. Do not.
Oh my God, she was such a Russian when we set up the interview too. Like, I loved it.
Yeah.
Like, we agreed on a time.
But you know what? She's a protected person.
Yes.
And I knew that from that exchange, but I also knew that even here, she was very uncomfortable during those judging things. And I know whatever, Kurt was kind of not being her friend.
His vibe was weird during the judging thing. It was not the same as
but
it
her,
had been
but
years
her
past.
vibe was very awkward in the judging moments in particular.
Well, who is he to tell her anything?
Right. Well, agree. Who is any of them? I'm sorry. Even Tessa and Scott. Amazing.
Tessa and
skaters.
Scott, I would say they're on
But they weren't
going to
say anything to Katya.
No. But plus,
They
they're from the
knew
same
that.
school. They are both from the Marina Zueva lineage. Tessa and Scott were given all the old Katya music. Like, they are of the same ilk, right? Like,
Totally.
they are the same ilk. Katya probably liked Tessa and Scott better than the French. Just putting it out there. Like, they are, yes, Jonathan, yes, they are the same kind of person.
I think we should ask her that.
I will. Well, she gives enough of a shit. But
Yeah, she'll be like, who and who? When?
clearly, Tessa and Scott. Yes, I would say,
Okay.
They
Okay.
have the same marina magic, okay?
Okay.
Oh my God, at the No Drinking Club the other night, they made us, you have to read the 11th, this prayer. And I was like, Tessa and Scott skated to that. Why don't we not listen to people? Try to talk.
Right.
Just listen. Tessa and Scott skate to the Canadian tenors. Jonathan.
Hey. Oh, God.
Okay. And I love it. Tess and Scott performing to the Canadian tenors, and really, it's just all of their Olympic free dance set to different
Moment.
music.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yet it's the most beautiful, cheesy Disney show moment ever. And I loved it, okay?
Amazing.
From
Cheesy
shouting
Disson
dance
has
on
never
it.
looked so good. Yeah, okay.
Oh my God. They really understood the vibe of the Canadian tenors, that like commercial cheesiness better than anyone. Tessa and Scott knew how to do it.
They're like, you need a sellout? We got you. We can do this. Yeah.
We can do it. All right? They knew.
Give the people what they want.
Yes. Oh my
Okay.
God. It's how Tessa knows how she needs to judge. You have made all of Canada so proud.
And you know what? If I'm not the target audience, maybe the audience didn't understand Megan's approach at all, and they preferred sort of rainbows
I think
and
we
bubblegum.
all love to be snowed over by Tessa and Scott. We really enjoy how they tell us nothing and yet so much. That's why I prefer Scott. But what I really...
I like that they smother us with kindness and lavender chiffon.
As she was smothering us, though, she did give the kiss of death to Amanda Avora, and I wanted to discuss it. I didn't know if you heard it.
Tell me. I'm not recalling it now.
She goes, I loved all those tricks you were doing, but while you were doing them, I thought it would have been great if you had more time to relate to one another. That was being like her saying, you have no chemistry.
Yeah. But that was a very elegant way to say that. I thought that was like the most gutsy real thing she said. And I think that she was right. That ultimately is what was lacking the most.
It was literally like they found a penis with arms to lift beautiful Amanda Evora, okay?
And she did look beautiful in there. And
no,
I thought she was going down a couple times. I really did. It was very scary.
Mervyn and Olivia's coach basically said, this hockey guy, Colton, he is older. His hand apparently is in a permanent claw.
Like a Lego man.
Like a Lego man. He has all these injuries and he's just biceps, okay? That is all.
Well, and even at the hip, it's like they lead, some of the bigger hockey guys lead with their forehead. And so it's like a strange, brutish motion because there's no hip bend properly. And so it's nutty. And I feel like Meagan, when she saw him, got it. She was like, Amanda, I don't know how you're doing this. What I think was being unsaid was, I don't know how you're making that work.
And Amanda goes for it. She has that Team Florida grit, that Tara Kane, 15% talent, 10% training, 200%
dead weight in a lift,
200% going for it at the moment, right? Like she has that Team Florida little engine that could thing about her, and I mean, she's gonna outskate Katie Danny at the Olympics and her fiance. All right, she's gonna do it. She really made it to week 5, okay?
Yeah, she did. It was impressive with really one of the weakest partners.
But she still did that twist, did all those beautiful lifts that Jim taught her how to do for all. No wonder he has to be with her in every photo, okay?
Yeah, well, because I felt also like Amanda and Vanessa were in quasi-similar situations. I think Vanessa had an even worse partner initially. You know what I'm saying. They're not supposed to be great at this.
Vanessa didn't pop on this show the way...
But she didn't, and Amanda knew how to make it work in spite of the guy.
But what's amazing is that I think that if Vanessa judged, maybe she would have been better. Or, she has a good personality, and it didn't... Maybe she wasn't around long enough for it to come out on the show, but it just
maybe the
pop.
Producers weren't making a comfortable environment for her to feel at ease. You know what I mean? I could see how they could be rigid, those kinds of interviews, if you didn't know how to just go with it.
Also, were you fascinated by Renee Roca, the intensity that we saw of her?
She had a Thierry's doctor doing some help there. She looks great.
She looks great.
Yeah.
Renee Roca was working Katya like no other, okay? And when
you could tell
the bicep, you could tell Renee was like, he is going to get back out there like Gorsha. We're going to get him, and he's going to deliver.
Put him in a short enough shirt so we know it's wrapped. Yes.
Dude,
yeah.
I feel like you never saw Stars on Ice, but the last season that Scott was on the tour, they did this whole group number where we had known all of these skaters, who a lot of them were, and they did this whole group number that was a spoof of their personalities. And the whole thing was that, Renee Roca is a Cuban who is going to cut you, especially her partner. The whole thing was, her fighting with Gorsha. That she's
got a Barbara Fusar-Poli thing going on, doesn't she? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Galit Chait knocked into her and broke her hand at the Olympic trials in '94.
That's right.
There are 2 theories on that. One, that Galit Chait was moving for no one. Oh, that's a lot of the thing, too. I was talking to a lot of the skaters, and they were talking about, different skaters have different reputations on the ice. And that Ensu's is that she will move for no one.
I believe that.
Remember
we have seen it cause a scandal, her inability to move out of the way.
Well, she was on the side of the boards. That's a little different. But even on the ice, she's not known as being one of the...
was that Autumn Classic? When Yevgenia was bowing, and then there goes Ensu, right past her in the middle of her curtain call.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah. Now she could just zip into a triple Lutz triple toe instead of a triple Lutz double toe, then we can talk.
But the Koreans will be like, innocent Ensu. Look at her face.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Young Yu's going to win the whole damn thing again.
Young Yu will, okay?
Yeah.
She is coming. But my Ensu, she's back to that virginal white dress that she wears for that.
You called it about going back to that short program.
I really did. She's going to do it. Yeah. And, I felt...
Once Yelim Kim passes her at a nationals, she is toast. She's got to stay on it.
I think Ensu is going to realize that she likes the fame and the attention, but if you want to keep getting it, it's not unconditional. You need to keep producing results.
Right.
Athletic love isn't forever. You have to produce.
You're only as good as your last result, dear.
Everyone is replaceable.
That's right.
So,
look at the hockey show.
Look at the hockey show.
Someone literally right before the first episode.
Yes. I'm still standing. Yeah, so Amanda, Moir, and Colton never had a chance, but seemed sad when they left. Hopefully she got a good check. Made all the way to week 6. So, but yeah, it was strange that on the last performance, the judges didn't score them. We just did our favorite numbers that we brought back. It seemed a little bit of a mishmash. But, and did it feel like Ekaterina and Bruno kind of did the same, like, different versions of him being in jeans and her being like a girl, like in a shirt dress for every number?
Yes.
I felt like the same vibe was happening almost every week. And that got a little stale for me.
Well, it's also another thing. I mean, we know the pros that can't really branch out. Like, so
Katya can do anything.
It does seem insane, though, that, like, these people learning these things are now also doing vastly different styles from week to week. You know what I mean?
Doing different styles. But
yes, I understand. But it's clear, like, what's going to work for them was flowy and beautiful. Because when they tried the Zorro thing, it didn't really land.
I think it's because he's just kind of beige paint as a personality. Yeah. Nice beige paint.
Yeah.
Renee couldn't do the Lion King with him. She just, Haven, you can't skate, so I'm going to put you in a lift constantly. I mean, she works with what she has, that Renee Roca. Yeah. She's a genius, okay?
Yeah. Well, that's the same thing with Marie France and Madison Chalk. Like, having an edge problem? No problem. Don't put your blades on the ice the entire program. We got this.
Just act.
Just do it. Yeah, and she was right.
Also, so Canadian pronunciation, always amusing for Americans.
It's very strange, yeah.
You know how they do their O's and all of that, but and their vowels are very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Wide.
They can't say the word Katya. Have you ever noticed? Katya. Katya.
Yeah.
Meagan does that all the time. Katya.
Yeah. Yagetova. You're like, who? Are you talking about Zagitova? Yeah.
It's great. I love it. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
They probably couldn't speak New Jersey either. It's fine. All right.
You can't win them all. God divides, as we discussed.
God divides. Yes. So overall, I thought that this was a fun sojourn into
this world.
I would have liked a little more drama, but you know, there's just only so much that we had. We have some good sob stories. We didn't get enough of the pro sob story. If Weaver's partner wasn't on it, she could be like, I was in it to win the Worlds this year. My partner just didn't want to come back. Like, we didn't get that sob story.
That's about ambition. That's about self-motivation and drive. And they don't go for that. We do. I do.
I don't. Canadians are tough. No, but then they love to win, right?
It's this total thing. It's a very fascinating thing that happens.
The Doug Haw types. You know, you just don't... They're...
What are you going to do, you know?
Is that why...
You can't give everyone
Is that why Canada doesn't love Meagan Duhamel? Because let's be honest, they don't, right? They love Tessa and they don't love her.
Because Meagan has a go-get-em attitude. Yeah, which I admire very much.
I think it's that visceral thing that they don't respond to it.
Yeah. They are uncomfortable or find it audacious or something. I don't know. Right. What was your moment of the series? Mine, again, was the Ain't No Sunshine from Katya and Bruno.
Well, mine is Marie France judging.
Great choice, Dave. Great choice. Yeah.
Meagan was a good judge.
I would say Meagan also, yeah.
Meagan, you were more substantive than Marie France.
Yes.
Marie France... Okay, Meagan had the technical merit as a judge. Marie France had the artistic impression.
Marie France was giving you what I feel like Sandra would have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Glamour.
They just kind of see a big picture and know what's in here.
A little bit of shade.
Yeah.
But
total conviction.
But we missed... Sandra gives a warmth and a glamour that was really missing.
Yeah.
Right? The sequin, the chignon, you know, the whole just kind of vibe that she gives there, like she is the queen bee, like she has seen it all.
She has and she is. Yeah. Yeah.
And Sandra has a giggle that they just didn't. She's a little bit of a naughty girl. She really. Yeah. She has that. And I felt the series was missing that. Kurt wasn't being naughty. He wasn't flirting with anyone.
More Sandra. More Sandra.
Put Kurt back as the host who comes out and skates. That's what we all want. We don't want him judging. We want Kurt to just show off and be a show pony. I don't want Kurt judging. I want him. Get rid of the corny guy. Do we really need him?
He's not really so relevant anymore. Bring in Patrick or somebody. Bring in somebody that you want, or even have Tessa and Scott hosting or something.
Oh,
you know what
yes.
I mean? Like, they would do that. They would be great.
Couldn't you imagine the show being a conversation between Tessa and Scott? Scott, don't you want to see a hockey player and an ice dancer perform to Charlie Chaplin? Why, yes, Tess, I would. I mean, I would love the whole...
Let's watch it now.
Let's watch it. It would be cringy and great, and that's what we're in for.
We're here for that, yeah.
Canadian TV, all right? And I don't know, we didn't get the theme song this year, but in the past, the theme song was Bryan Adams. There will never be another tonight, and they would, like, dance to it.
No, yes. We need the theme song from... No, I wasn't saying no like you were wrong. We need the theme song from The Cutting Edge.
Oh.
Like some of that movie background, that dun, 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 or whatever it was. I'm not quite getting it right.
Excuse me, Jonathan. Do you not know the music? Do you know that became J.C. Phelps' floor routine? It's called The Race. Oh. And it is iconic. Dun. Yeah, it was then adopted by every gymnast at a local club meet, used that music for about 10 years.
It's perfect, yeah.
The Cutting Edge, yes.
That should totally be their theme song. Maybe it's copyright issues, who knows?
Who knows? Anyway, hold an edge and look sexy. Bye, guys.